please fill out one of these cards. I think they were out at the table, or Kristen over there. Fill them out, give them to Kristen, please. That'll just help us identify who wishes to speak, okay?
I'd like to call the meeting to order. If everyone can stand for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If everyone could remain standing, a moment of silence for our fallen military, firefighters, and police officers. Thank you. You may be seated. Before we get started with roll call, I just did want to indicate I did hear from Pam Howd. She had a medical issue come up and asking that she be excused. And Kristen, if you can start with roll call.
Busan,
Here.
Howard, excuse, Colbert,
Here.
Armstrong, Dick,
Here.
Simons.
Yes.
McDermott.
Here. Thank you. And at this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our attorney, Mike Elder.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to do my best to be heard. We're here tonight because on October 15th of this year, there were ethics violation complaints made against Elizabeth Armstrong per the ordinance that council adopted just a short time ago. Those are referred to me for investigation and recommendation. That investigation was complete. I wrote a letter to council giving my investigative summary, which in large part is really Chief Sutter's, who did much of the legwork, with my recommendation. And I with everyone's indulgence, I'd like to elaborate on that just a little bit. There were two cards that were submitted for people to make a comment. The first is Jerry Link.
Hi, Jerry Link, 1577 West Ralston here. I just wanted to bring up some comments, and I kind of made some statements at the last city council meeting regarding the situation with the ethics ordinance and what is happening. The first thing I'd like to start out with is, by no means is this me trying to defend nor accuse of anybody either side. I'm not taking one side or the other. It's the process that this is happening in that I have a problem with. As far as accusations, I think any accusation should be taken seriously and investigated completely, and then the results of which should be, the city, whoever's responsible for the results of that, it should be followed through completely. So by no means am I saying the process, that portion of the process is wrong. Somebody's accused of something, I feel that it should be investigated. With that being said, my years I've been spent in business, when situations like this have come up, Typically what would happen is the management team would get together, you'd have your HR department there. They would do investigations, possibly depending on the investigation, individuals would be called in that had the situation. If necessary, and it was determined at that point, then the police department would be involved. But when those are happened, I've never seen a situation where a company has called a company-wide meeting at the beginning of the process and said, hey, this is the process, these are the accusations, before anything was determined, and put it out amongst the company. Typically what would happen is the investigation would be complete, and then at the end, and this is only sometimes where they even discuss it at that point to say, hey, everyone, this is the result, this is what the investigation was, this is the result of it. And if the newspaper, for some reason, is brought into that case, we see it all the time, and accusations and things going on within in the media and around the world. The statement is, at this time, we don't have any statement, and we will give a statement once the investigation is complete and everything is done, not during the process. You know, and that brings up the timing of this whole situation. I know this is right at the middle of the election, and until recently, I've never heard what the term October surprises, which apparently from talking to people is when people bring up things in October, right before an election, to try to affect the election to go either for them or against a candidate. It's unfortunate that this is the case. I know that we have done this, and we've seen this all the time in national, state elections. I was hoping that this would not be the case in our small town of Linden. I've been reading on Nextdoor app and Facebook. A lot of people have got concerns, and they do not like the way that it's being drug out at this point in time to show, I don't know, to possibly help people in running for office. As I had mentioned in my previous statement that I gave at the last city council meeting, I think as candidates running for office, we should focus on going to the people and say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I think we can do to make our city better, and not focus on what our opponents are not doing, any of them, and any of the candidates. It should be, I can help the city, and this is why I can help the city. And let the people make the decision based on a positive output, instead of trying to go around saying things about individuals. Either way, and like I said, I'm not taking one side or the other. Either side that says things or tries to trash other individuals. If I try to trash Ray, you're running. If I try to trash you, that would be wrong. And we just shouldn't do it. Just go on our morals, or on our laurels, and say, hey, this is what I can do for the city. Thank you.
Monica Lerner?
I'm Monica Lerner. I live at 152 West Ralston, Linden. So these are my opinions. Is it a coincidence that on September 23rd, 2024, the Code of Ethics was pushed through while discussion was still being conducted and considered on both sides of the matter? The vote was not unanimous on this decision. Then exactly 10 days later, which gave time for the ordinance to take effect, we have meet candidates. This is where someone claimed that, where Ms. Wright claims that Ms. Armstrong invaded her personal space. Yet another way to look at it is where Ms. Wright may have invaded Ms. Armstrong's space, especially since Ms. Wright admits to calling her name under her breath and Ms. Armstrong hearing it. I would call that invading Ms. Armstrong's personal space intentionally. The intent was evident by the verbal harassment. Verbal harassment involves the use of spoken or written language to belittle, demean, or intimidate another person. In this investigation, was the doctor report even considered? The way I understand it, Ms. Armstrong did not accuse Mr. Fairbanks of this fit, an example of how assumptions is wrong. The supposed investigation
investigation in this instant was wrong. Then 12 days later, we have a code of ethics violation, and 7 days after that, we have the hearing like tonight. I don't understand how the city council can become the accusers, the judge, and the jury, and trying to convict her on wrong information. Why is there not an impartial arbitrator that will get to the truth? So Mr. Fairbanks was falsely accused, but not by Ms. Armstrong, it was by the council. Going back during meetings of July 23rd, 2023 and February 2024, Ms. Armstrong was yelled at during the meetings. How is that ethical? I see social media posts slamming Ms. Armstrong done by members of the council. However, I don't see Ms. Armstrong taking the bait and responding back. How is it ethical that y'all, and you know who is, have not treated her as one of the government officials as you are?
Thank you. Ms. Kelly Zinn?
My name is Kelly Zinn, and I live at 265 East Ralston Road. I'm really confused why we're here tonight. Miss Armstrong resigned. It's all over social media. She posted a letter that she was resigning from council. So why are we here wasting our time right now? I'm super confused. I can read her letter. She posted it this afternoon. Today, October 22nd, 2024 at 4 p.m., I, City Council Member Elizabeth Armstrong, formally resigned from my elected position on City Council for the City of Linden. Throughout my time on City Council, I served the people of Linden selfishly and considered what they wanted for our community with every vote. Despite reckless ordinances and numerous detrimental votes taken by other City Council members and the current mayor, I served for the people and enjoyed much of it. I will not, however, continue to serve in a position in which my First Amendment rights are under constant attack, and I am being brought under intense scrutiny for ethics ordinances that prohibit me from talking to residents about current pressing issues. Therefore, to protect my First Amendment rights and preserve my ability to work with residents across the community in the open and honest communication format we should expect from all government officials with reprisal and persecution, I resign effective immediately. Thank you to my family for their constant love and support, to the residents who continue to make Linden a great place to live, and to my colleagues throughout city government who do their job for the community instead of personal gain and notoriety. Sincerely, Elizabeth Armstrong. So I'm not sure why we're wasting our time tonight. What are you planning to gain? She's already off council. Why are we all here tonight wasting our time? I'm not sure what your plan is moving forward if she has officially resigned earlier this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other cards, Crystal? I don't want to catch anyone by surprise. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question, now is the time. If you fill out a card, if not, we're going to move forward. Okay, no, I see no hands are raised.
I just had your card. I wasn't going to, but I'm like, running you.
I guess everybody knows who I am. I guess I'm in the start of this shit show. So I guess everybody has,
Ms. Wright, if you could just direct your comments
well, you
this
know,
way.
they always complain that they can't hear. So anyways, I guess I started this. I was falsely accused of an assault. There is a person in here who is a businessman that would not investigate a complaint from one employee to another without investigation. I was called in from my home. I was told that I assaulted somebody. It was not true. It was a lie. It was, she falsely did it. She maliciously went into City Hall and made that statement. Did she think it wasn't gonna get investigated? I don't get where these people are coming from. She was wrong, it was proved wrong on the film. I never assaulted her, and I just think a repercussion, I mean, do people do things like that and don't expect a result? I expect a repercussion. If she was woman enough to stand up here and say, I lied, it never happened, it would be over. But what does she do? She resigns, and she's not woman enough to come and stand in front of these people and tell them that she lied, and it was on film. So, yeah, I'm very angry that, I'm being persecuted. No, I'm the villain. I didn't make the accusation. I just proved myself wrong.
Anyone, last call? Okay, no hands are raised. So, first of all, the complaint that came in from Ms. Armstrong went initially to the city manager on October 4th of this year. And the complaint, which I'm paraphrasing, the chief has done a 4-page report, which is available to anyone who wishes to see it. Portions of it are going to be shown on the screen here. I'm not going to go into all the detail, unless there are questions from council. But the allegations were twofold. One, that at a Meet the Candidate event that happened the night before on October 3rd, Marta Wright elbowed her, called her a bitch, elbowed her as they were passing in the left side, to the point where she thought she may have suffered broken ribs. She then claimed that an individual some weeks earlier, while she was out going door to door campaigning, spit in her face and said words to the effect, he's doing this for Marta. Again, Marta Wright, the complainant about elbowing in the ribs. She came in, as I said, on October 4th and made that complaint to the city manager. It is true, as some have said, that she said she did not want to make a criminal complaint, and again, I'm paraphrasing, wanted nothing to come of it. She said that a few times. However, she also said that she wanted Ms. Wright warned, counseled about this, and have something placed in her file. She also, during the course of these comments that she made to the chief and to the manager, suggested that at this Meet the Candidate event, after Marta elbowed her in the ribs, she saw the city manager and Tessa, the, what is her title? Social engagement coordinator, the former clerk, go over to Ms. Wright and shush her, for lack of a better description. Advise her, stop talking. Which, to me, can only suggest that the city manager is somehow complicit in Marta Wright's complaint and her conduct. So she comes in, makes this complaint, and let me tell you, since October 4th, I think I've spoken with Ellen Glass, the city manager, every day. And some of the questions that I heard here tonight, we asked ourselves, should this be investigated when she doesn't want a criminal complaint? And to me, that's the easiest question to answer. There is no other option but to investigate this. I don't know, I'm a businessman. I don't know of another businessman that would receive a complaint about other employees within the organization and be expected to do nothing about it. And that's what we have. Marta Wright and Chris Fairbanks, which, I'll bring that back around. The complaint about the person spitting in her face was unnamed, but later it was identified as Chris Fairbanks, which I'll talk some more about. But once those complaints are made, the city has every obligation to investigate them. If city employees are out assaulting residents of the community or counselors, something needs to be looked at. And I think the city would be complicit if it did nothing under those circumstances. And so my advice was, yes, you have to investigate it. And as I said, at different points, she said she didn't want anything done, but then she did make clear she expected something to be done. And I would ask any of you, if the city manager sat on that information, did nothing with it, told council nothing, investigated nothing, I think that she would be heavily criticized and probably out of a job for looking the other way. So that, I thought, had to happen. And it was. The chief investigated it, and at least as it relates to Marta Wright's complaint, it was a very easy investigation because all of it was captured on tape, which we're going to show. Then the question was, all right, we've investigated this. The complaint against Marta Wright is completely without merit, and the complaint against Chris Fairbanks cannot be substantiated because it was a he said, she said. There were no witnesses, no evidence of an objective nature. So what do we do with that, was the question that I was asked. Do we tell council? Well, as you'll see, just a few days after Ms. Armstrong came in and spoke to the city manager, the city learned that Ms. Armstrong had reached out to the press and advised them of the very same thing. At that point, at least in my mind, that's a game changer. I still think that the city manager had every obligation to pass her findings and the complaint themselves on to city council. But I think once the media is alerted to it, there's no other choice. There's going to be a story about it. It's out there in the public. And if the city manager does not report to her bosses what happened, again, I think that she would be derelict in her duties. And so, to me, that very much changed the face of how this goes. But the report that the city manager gave city council, for any of you who were here at the last meeting when that report was given, was factual, it was informative, and it was non-sensational. It named no names. It simply said that there were complaints, that they were investigated, and they were found to be without merit. The city manager, I suppose, could have gone into great detail, could have named all the names, chose not to. But she fulfilled her duty to council by advising them of what was going on. And again, for those of you who were not here on the October 15th meeting, after doing that, Ms. Wright and Mr. Fairbanks spoke up, identified themselves as the subjects of Ms. Armstrong's complaint, and they made a complaint of an ethics violation. So the city manager made no such complaint, nor did the chief, nor did myself, nor did any city council person. The two subjects made the ethics violation complaint, and under the ordinance, it's clear what happens under those circumstances. So I heard the phrase October surprise. It absolutely was an October surprise. October 4th was when the complaint came in. But if nothing else, folks should understand, we didn't go looking for this. The complaint came to the city manager from the person who is now the subject of the ethics violation. And if she had never come to the city manager, there was nothing to investigate. There would be nothing to know about. So, frankly, I would say to city council, to the question about why would you conduct an investigation when the person said they didn't want an investigation, I think the proper question is, why would a person go to the city manager and pass that information on and not expect or want something done. That's useless information for the city manager. What is she expected to do with that if the expectation is nothing? So, in terms of the process about convening HR and addressing this and perhaps dealing with it in a different, maybe a private way, which is fantastic, except we're not a private organization. We are bound by the Open Meetings Act. We are a public body, obviously. And if nothing else, while I'm speaking to everyone in the audience, my comments are really directed at City Council. The transparency is foremost with any public body. And I think that goes to exactly why we're here, why it was investigated, why it was reported, and why we're here. It's transparency. Again, we cannot have city employees running around assaulting other people and be expected to do nothing about it. And this process is playing out publicly because we have to. We have no choice. While the city manager and I and the police chief are having lots of conversations about what do we do and how do we go about it, ultimately, it has to end up where we're at here tonight. I promised to come back with making the connection with Scott Fairbanks. Chris Fairbanks, I'm sorry, Mr. Fairbanks. It's not the first time I've made that mistake. The complaint initially, as it was made to the city manager, was it was an unknown person that everyone knew was very close to Marta, and she simply chose not to name names. However, during the course of the investigation, Chief Sutter spoke with Brad Dick, another city councilor, who explained that Ms. Armstrong told him it was it was Mr. Fairbanks. I'll just leave it at Mr. Fairbanks. That's how that connection was made. Mr. Fairbanks was also investigated, or interviewed, I should say, and his comments are included in the report. So, first of all, focusing on Ms. Wright. The complaint again was this elbowing at the candidate event on October 3rd. All of that was captured on video, and Kristen, if you could play those. There's two videos. There are two separate videos. One was from the Chamber of Commerce, which is about 4 minutes long, and that's what this one is. Go ahead and play it, please. That is Marta right there. That's it. The second video is from the cameras here in Losey, and it pans back a bit. Can we stop it for a moment, please? So, just to orient everybody, this is the city manager here. That, I believe, is Ms. Wright. And I'm not seeing Ms. Armstrong yet. If you'll play the tape, please. It's at about the 10-minute mark, isn't it? Whoops. Right there. Whoa. Right there is Ms. Armstrong. And Ms. Wright is still behind her there. Would you go ahead and just play that segment one more time, please? The allegation again is that she was elbowed in the ribs on the left side to such an extent that she thought she had broken ribs. Now that, everything here in Losi is filmed. And so what we're showing you is just the relevant portions. But we watched the video in its entirety to see perhaps something happened in the parking lot, perhaps something happened elsewhere, and not in this actual room. And nowhere on any of the 11 or 12 minutes of the tape is there any physical contact between those women whatsoever. Again, to counsel, I've had bruised ribs before, I've never had broken ribs, but they hurt like hell. The force of an elbow to cause someone to think that they possibly broke some ribs would be great, number one. And number two, I would expect someone to respond, react to that in the video. And as you saw, no reaction whatsoever. To those who suggested that it was Ms. Wright who invaded her space, I think the video demonstrates that she did no such thing. She was talking to someone, she starts walking, and Ms. Armstrong starts walking to her. A perfectly normal, natural sequence of events. I certainly saw that no one was invading each other's space, certainly not Ms. Wright. But as those videos demonstrate, there was no physical assault. There was space between those two women that was clear at all points. I have no doubt Ms. Wright admitted that she called her a name. It could not be heard. I could not hear it anyway. But I think that explains why you saw the minute she passed, Ms. Armstrong turned, takes a few steps towards her, and then stops. But no physical assault took place. As to the complaint about Mr. Fairbanks and the spitting, as I said, Ms. Armstrong told Brad Dick that it was Mr. Fairbanks. And then at the October 15th meeting, when Mr. Fairbanks stood up and explained that he did no such thing, Ms. Armstrong whispered to Mr. Dick that she never identified him as the person who spit. And so she told the same person two different things about those events. Both of those things that she accused those individuals of are assaults, and they would justify criminal action if a criminal complaint was made. It is not at all unusual. If a victim chooses or refuses to participate in a criminal investigation and prosecution, that there be no prosecution. Nothing unusual at all about that. However, I counsel clients, I counsel businesses, I counsel municipalities, and I would never tell one of my clients that if your employees are accused of assaulting someone, but the person chooses not to do anything with it, you just let it go. It had to be done, and it was done. Kristen, if you could just go to the portions of the chief's report that are highlighted, that I highlighted, please. And this is really just to emphasize some of the points that I mentioned. It'd probably be starting on page 5. There you go. This is highlighting the statement by Ms. Armstrong where she may have broken her ribs. Again, to demonstrate that this wasn't just a passing glance between two women, This was a forceful assault. The next page, please. This is also from the report, which indicates that on Monday, October 7th, so Ms. Armstrong came into the city manager on Friday, October 4th. On October 7th is when the city manager received the email from Hannah Ball, who's the reporter, and that's when we find out for the first time that Ms. Armstrong, contrary to what she said she didn't want anything done, had gone to the press. The next one, please. This is where Ms. Armstrong is telling the city manager that she wanted Ms. Wright counsel about this and have something placed in her file. And also strongly suggesting that the city would be hearing from her attorney. Ms. Armstrong stated that she has a lawyer and the lawyer will be contacting Ellen, the city manager. Again, I would say to you, city council, and to the audience as well, if the city has no culpability, no responsibility at all for these city employees, why would the city be contacted by an attorney for someone who claims to have been assaulted? I think that, again, justifies the investigation. The next one, please. This is where Ms. Armstrong says that after Marta elbowed her, she went up to Ellen and Tessa and told them something, and she overheard Ellen tell Marta to stop talking. Armstrong told him that she didn't want to make a criminal complaint, but wanted Ellen to talk to Marta. This is where I believe she is drawing the city manager into the complaint, that she is somehow complicit in either covering up or covering for Marta Wright. The next one, please. This is where the statement from Brad Dick stated that Armstrong advised him that she was going to issue a press release because she had been threatened and she was afraid for her safety, and she was going to stop going door to door because of this. Next one, please. And this is where she fingers Mr. Fairbanks specifically as the person who's fit. Thank you. So, as I also did a letter to council summarizing all of this, indicating that under your ordinance, violations of this chapter shall be deemed misconduct in office. Sanctions may include reprimand, formal censure, or loss of board, committee, or commission assignments. I prepared for council a proposed resolution, which each of you has before you. And if you could put that up there, Kristen, please. That is hard to read. This isn't terribly long, but council has it, but members of the audience do not. This was of my own imagination. I spoke with no one on city council. I didn't speak to the manager about it, but I wanted you to have something. You can subtract, you can add to, but it's something to guide your conversation. This resolution says, the city council adopted the Code of Ethics ordinance. The second paragraph gives the intent of that ordinance, which was stated in the ordinance itself. Third paragraph references one of the standards in that ordinance. Public servants should demonstrate by word and action the highest standards of ethical conduct and integrity in order to merit the trust and respect of the public. Public servants should be ever vigilant about saying or doing anything that might erode the public's trust and confidence in city government or bring themselves or the city into disrepute. The next paragraph says that Under the ordinance, complaints are to go to the city manager, who gives them to me for investigation. Trying to see if I can shorten this a little bit. Now therefore, having considered all of the information presented at the city attorney's investigative summary and at this meeting, the city council hereby finds and resolves that, one, videos from the Meet the Candidate event held October 3rd, 2024 clearly show that Marta Wright had no physical contact with Elizabeth Armstrong, despite Ms. Armstrong's claim that Ms. Wright elbowed her in the rib area following that event. Two, Elizabeth Armstrong violated section 3502 of Title III of the Code of Ordinances by falsely accusing Marta Wright of assault at the Meet the Candidate event on October 3rd, 2024. Third, Elizabeth Armstrong told Brad Dick that Chris Fairbanks spit in her face when she encountered him while campaigning. Four, during the meeting on October 15, 2024, when Chris Fairbanks denied that act when addressing city council, Ms. Armstrong told Brad Dix that Mr. Fairbanks was not the person who spit in her face. Five, Elizabeth Armstrong violated section 3502 of Title III of the Code of Ordinances by falsely accusing Chris Fairbanks of spitting in her face. Paragraph 6, in acting as she did, Elizabeth Armstrong fell far below the minimum standards of ethical conduct expected of public servants as described in the Code of Ethics, engaged in conduct that eroded the public's trust and confidence in city government, brought herself and the city into disrepute, diverted the city manager and police chief's attention away from other city business while they attended to her false complaints, and caused the city to incur unnecessarily legal fees associated with the resulting investigation into her false complaints, which, according to my office's tally, is just about $2,000. 7, Elizabeth Armstrong is publicly reprimanded and censured for engaging in the conduct described above. And finally, Elizabeth Armstrong's conduct described above constitutes malfeasance in office, and accordingly, City Council removes her as a member of the City Zoning Board of Appeals pursuant to MCL 125.36019, which permits the removal of members for misfeasance, malfeasance, or non-feasance in office. As I said, City Council, this is, you are free to shred this, add to it, take away as you choose. But that was my work product. And the last thing I'll say in closing was, after this was investigated, the city manager called Ms. Armstrong into the office with the intention of explaining to her the results of the investigation. The videos that you all saw tonight were all teed up, prepared to show her. She came into the office. It lasted 15 minutes. She did not sit down. She said she did not want to see the videos. She told those of us in attendance, myself, the city manager, the police chief, that we can choose to believe what we want to believe she knows what happened, but that she still had the bruises on her ribs to show it. On October 15th, after this was referred to me, when the meeting recessed, I had all of my contact information down that I was going to give Ms. Armstrong. She was faster than I was getting to the door, and so I met her at those doors, offered it to her, and she held up her hand and essentially shook me off. And so I didn't hear from her. I had no input from her in preparing this. I know a statement was posted today, I believe, by her. What's important to me, and what I would hope is important to City Council, is her version of events was offered her, and she chose not to take it. Does City Council have any questions of me?
I guess I would like Brad.
Heather, we can't hear you back there.
Can't get to it, but, since two of these statements are depending on what Brad said, that one, she told Brad it was Chris, and then later she told Brad it wasn't Chris, I would guess I would like Brad to comment on that, please. If you will.
When I was called into the office by chief and city manager, they told me that Elizabeth had told him that I knew everything. And Elizabeth does talk to me, because I'm the only one, she says I'll listen to her, so I listened to her. And she did say that she was been in by a firefighter, and she told me that 6 weeks ago. And then in following conversations, it finally came out that she named Chris. Night of the meeting, she leaned over and said, I don't know who that guy is, I've never seen him before in my life. But she was told by someone else that it was Chris based on the house that she was at.
Any other questions?
No, thank you, Brad.
Thank you. Mr. Brad, anything else? I'll go down the line. I forgot that Danielle usually does that, goes right down the line. Anything else?
Well, I'm like Ms. Zinn, she has resigned, I mean, that's, how can you censure a public citizen at this point in life? She's got, even if she would have ran her term, there are 2 meetings left in her term. But, you know, what happened in the accusations against Chris and Marta, I understand that everybody wants closure and wants it cleared up, but she's resigned, there's nothing more that we can possibly do as council. That is the ultimate, and we don't even have that power. So, where do we go from here? We presented our evidence, we presented the case, and everything is out in the public, so I don't know how we can continue on with the censoring. That's all.
Thank you. Brenda?
Do you have a comment for that, sir? Do you have a comment for what Brad has said?
About why continue?
Mm-hmm.
Well, ultimately, that's up to city council. My own personal opinion is that what censure does is, it's the strongest condemnation of behavior that you disagree with or that falls below your standards. And whether or not someone has resigned or not, the complaint was made, individuals were affected, and censure still is providing accountability.
Okay, so the only other question I have is, given the fact that she resigned, does item number 8 still apply? That's the one where you would remove her from the city's zoning board of appeals? Because if she resigned, does that mean she is not on any of the boards?
It certainly would be moot, that particular paragraph.
Okay,
But what city council must still do is accept her resignation,
okay.
okay?
And is Ms. Armstrong still running for mayor, or is she still on the ballot? I'm not quite sure how that works. Did she say that she's still going to run, or will we talk about that?
I've not spoken with her, I don't know. In the
Okay.
statement that I received from her, she didn't send it to me, but I was shown, it indicated that she was still running for mayor, which is her right.
Okay, thank you.
Ray?
Have we heard anything from her attorney?
No, I have not.
We've heard nothing from her attorney.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Heather, anything else?
Yeah, I have a statement. When we previously discussed and voted on an ethics ordinance, I stated that an ordinance would not make an unethical person act ethically. But I hope that having a written policy would be a guide for counselors and members of boards and commissions. I never expected that less than a month later, we would be here. I stand by my previous statement that an ordinance cannot make a person act ethically. And I don't think anything that we say or do tonight will change that. I do think that it's important to let our employees and everyone else know that we, as a council, will not allow them to be wrongly accused and that we will defend them if they are. Any accusations of our employees, whether verbal or written, will be thoroughly investigated. In these particular cases, the accusations have been found to have no merit, and we should formally approve that we support that finding. As far as her resigning, when these actions were made, when these accusations were made, she was a counselor.
Thank you. Danielle?
I am abstaining tonight for reasons stated in the audience, claiming that I had something, I'm involved.
No other questions, sir?
Then, does council wish to make a motion or take any action?
I would make a motion that we approve this resolution as presented, excluding section 8, which removes her from the city's zoning board of appeals.
And I would support that.
That motion has been made and seconded. Is there any comment, Brad?
No, I'm with the mayor, since I am clearly involved, I'm abstaining from this vote.
Okay. Brenda?
Are we taking a vote now or just
No,
other
I'm just
questions?
asking if there's any comment on the motion.
You know what, I looked through the ethics and I was one of the people that approved it. And I still stand behind that, folks. I do the best that I can on the city council. And I've engaged with many of you on Facebook and neighbor chat. And you know what, the truth is the truth. We're all up here, we're citizens, we care about you, we care about the city. A lot of really great things have been done, so many good things since I've been on council. And I've often said to the other council members that I couldn't stay in a group where people were not righteous, we're not telling the truth, we're lying to each other, we're fighting with each other. At the end of the day, we make decisions here, and tough decisions. This is a hard job. $500 that I get to volunteer to come here. Graciously accepted that I am an official, a voted-in official. And I'm here to support you, answer your questions, and do everything we can. And that's what I expect from my fellow council people. That's what I expect. I expect them to act ethically, to ask questions if they have them, to stand up. And you all, you expect that too. You expect that from me, you expect that from all of the people sitting here. It's very important to me, very important to say that tonight. And I'm so disappointed that this had to happen, very disappointed. I don't have a relationship with Ms. Armstrong. She never really talked to me, so when Brad said he's the only person that talks to her, she just doesn't engage. And I'm sorry for that too. But the best we can do is hold everyone here to a standard. Anyone who gets on council, anyone who gets voted in, held to this standard tightly. We have to do this. We have to do this for each other. We have to do it for you. Thank you. That's all.
Ray?
Just a quick comment. Every time I've been elected, I took an oath of office to support the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state. And you cannot fulfill this oath unless you're ethical in your actions as an elected official. The ordinance reinforces the behavior that's expected of all elected officials and gives us corrective action if a person fails to act accordingly. Thank you.
Danielle, I'll skip you. Heather, anything else?
No, I said what I need to say.
Kristen, can we take a roll call, please?
Dick, McDermott,
Yes.
Simons,
Yes.
Colbert,
Yes.
Busan,
Abstain.
Thank you, that motion passed. There was also tendered Ms. Armstrong's resignation. Has all of council seen that?
No, I have not.
Alan, can you explain that, please? Just provide some context.
So today, I did receive, we actually, I think her husband is the one that delivered a letter to City Hall around 4 o'clock today. And then she did follow it up with an email, and Ms. Kelly's actually read that. And so we are in receipt of a letter of resignation as of 4 o'clock today, October 22nd, from Ms. Armstrong.
The letter indicates that it's effective immediately. However, resignations from a public body are not, they must be accepted by the public body in order for them to be effective. So it isn't the writer stating when it's effective, it's city council. Does anyone wish to make a motion with regard to that letter of resignation?
I will make that motion.
Support.
And that's to accept the letter of resignation?
Accept the letter of resignation.
Danielle, any comments?
No comments.
Heather?
Only if she's saying she's resigned, then I guess we accept that.
Ray?
No comment.
Brenda?
It makes me very sad that Elizabeth had to experience this and be part of this, and that's how I feel tonight. I don't walk away happy, just to let you know.
Fred?
No comment.
No other comments? Kristen?
Busan,
Yes.
Colbert,
Yes.
Simons,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
McDermott.
Yes.
That motion passed. I don't know if you want to retake over the duties. What is next on the agenda? Anything else?
We did have a consent agenda on our minutes, our work session minutes from October 15th of 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, and we have no other business. I don't think there are any students in the audience. If there are, come forward, but we are adjourned. Thank you.